We're done, and I don't need to change my jersey for this video from the one I wore in the last video. So there you go. I wore Kings 3 times today. Strange things happen. And today was kind of a day we saw something historic. And of course, people are going to be like, well, Shannon doesn't like that kind of historic. And you're right, I don't. Let's get into it. The Boston Bruins, with the biggest choke job that I've ever seen the Boston Bruins commit. This was just massive. First period, the Bruins pushed at the 6-minute mark. It looked pretty good. Pastrnak was set up by Bergeron. The puck ended up in his feet. Missed it. The shots were only 2-2, though, at 9 minutes. So not a lot of the shots were getting on the net, but there was a lot of pushing by the Bruins. Grzelcyk had a really good chance. That failed. Hoffman was stung on a shot block. Stayed in the game. Scoreless first, I felt favored the Panthers. The Panthers went to the power play with 12.9 seconds left, and I thought, oh boy, the Panthers are probably going to get some momentum. Scoreless after one, second period, the Panthers got another power play, and I thought, yeah, they're playing with fire. And they were. But they got away with it in the second period. And I don't know exactly what happened. Pastrnak scores from Bergeron at 11:55. Nordstrom scored from Coyle at 14:02. The Bruins then get a power play, and it's Bjork from Krejci and Marchand at 17:16. Nice goal by Bjork, too. Then it's Chara from Krejci and Heinen with 29 seconds left in the third period or second period. You know what? Going into the third, it's 4-0 Boston. Only nine times in the history of the NHL, I believe, including tonight, has a team come back from 4 goals down in the third period and won a game. And it's here. Ekblad scored from Yandel and Barkov at 50 seconds. Nordstrom had no stick on that play. The Bruins got a power play. Marchand was in on a scrum. Because of that scrum, the power play disappeared. Florida got a power play shortly thereafter. Vetrano scored from Huberdeau at 5:26. And it's right about there that I went, oh, not this again. You can't do this. Pesek then walked through the defense. Rask stopped that, but I thought the way that Pesek walked through the defense bothered me because Pesek's a good player. Shouldn't be going through your defense like that. And I thought, for a team that's up by 2, they're taking it awful easy. The Panthers got another power play. Guess what? They scored on it. Hoffman from Yandel and Huberdeau at 9:43, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That was a bad goal. Power play goal, bad goal. If somebody argues, well, Rask wasn't really ready for it, right, it's a bad goal. Whether it was supposed to be a shot or it was a failed shot and it was from a weird angle or not, that's what he's supposed to be stopping. Early in the year, there's no way that goes in, and I put a brutal third for Boston. The Bruins got a power play, and then why didn't Coyle shoot with a couple question marks up there? Charlie Coyle had a brilliant opportunity and didn't take the shot. Florida goes the other way. Yandel from Barkov and Huberdeau at 18:21. It's a tie game. In overtime, Marchand had a breakaway, and the answer to that was no. That breakaway didn't go anywhere. And we go to a shootout. Hoffman scores on the shootout. And it's a 5-4 victory in a shootout for the Florida Panthers. So Boston, this is, the 4th in a row? It's getting kind of ugly now. And this is why when teams get off to really hot starts in October, you can't overrate them. And you can't say, well, they're going to be fantastic all year, because they're not. Now, the interesting thing, too, is that Bobrovsky saved 19 out of 23 and was replaced in the third period by Montembeault, who saved all 15 that he faced, and he was good in the shootout. Rask saved 25 out of 29. Huberdeau, Pastrnak, Yandel, that's your 3 stars. The shots were 7-5 Boston in the first, 16-7 for Boston in the second. Then there were 12-9 Florida in the third. In the overtime, it was 6-5 in favor of Boston. For a final shot total of 38-29 in favor of the Bruins. Power plays, Florida went 2 for 4. See, they were playing with fire with that second power play, and then they didn't take another penalty until the third period, which cost them twice. Power play, Boston went 1 for 2. They would have had that third power play opportunity, but that scrum happens, and I had to take note Marchand was in it, and the power play just died right there. So that's the part that kind of feels like a kick in a very sensitive spot, usually the ankle. Anyways, what were you guys thinking? All right, next up, Columbus. This was the night of blown leads, wasn't it? It really was. And a blown lead is what we see in this one as well. Now, to start it off, it is Merzlikins versus Price. And when you look at that matchup, you're thinking, okay, so we got a likely future Hall of Famer in Carey Price and a guy named Elvis, which means his name might get him in the Hall of Fame just for having the name Elvis Merzlikins. It's a lot of fun to say. That being said, the early power play went to Columbus. It was a really good penalty kill for the Habs. They got a good chance afterwards. Columbus gets another power play. Price denied Bjorkstrand and then Nyquist on the same play. However, he couldn't deny them all. Robinson with his first goal from Bemstrom and Werenski. That's an I, not a Y. That's going to drive people nuts, so I'll just go ahead and change that now while I'm doing this. But yeah, Werenski with the other assist at 16:46. So it's 1-0 Columbus after one. And they played an excellent road period in that first period. It was fantastic. Second period, the Habs got a power play. Merzlikins was having a really good game. The Habs got another power play shortly thereafter. There wasn't really a whole lot for me to tell in that second period because it was a lot of action back and forth. Not a lot else going on, though. In the third period, the Habs put the puck in. It was a high stick, so that goal doesn't count. Lehkonen missed just high. I believe it was Domi that had that one, and he knew right away, like, no, that was way above the bar. Lehkonen then missed a shot just high, but shortly thereafter, Gallagher scores from Mete and Weber at 3:27. So Victor Mete continues his really solid offensive run that he's been on lately, and kind of a good result for them, and it's 1-1. Tortorella was not happy with that goal. Now, whether he wasn't happy with the defense, whether he wasn't happy with the goaltender because of how far out Gallagher put that in, you'd have to ask him. I'm not asking him. The Habs then blocked a Robinson shot. Elvis, following that, stopped a Weber point shot, and then Price denied Wenberg. Wenberg had a number of opportunities tonight, and Price was kind of his nemesis. That being said, at 18:07, less than 2 minutes left, Werenski scores from Nash and Atkinson. That should be it, right? Because that's the game winner with 1:53 left. So the goalie gets pulled on the faceoff. Jones hit the post on the empty net shot. Seth Jones hit the post. And it was an icing, too. So this is one of those few times where you see that the icing cost them. They didn't call a timeout. Which right away it's like, oh, well, you call a timeout here. No, they're tired. They can't change players because it's an icing call. Tatar scores from Suzuki and Dano at 19:20. And it was a direct result of the fact that Columbus loses the face-off and they were dead tired out there. Brilliant move by the coach, and Claude Julien ends up leading them to at least a point going into overtime. In the overtime, there was a power play for Columbus. They call a timeout. They don't score on said power play, and we go to a shootout where Jonathan Drouin scores the winner. So that's 2 games, 2 shootouts. We would have 3 shootouts tonight. Merzlikins, 30 for 32 on the saves. Price, 33 for 35. 3 stars. Price, Drouin, and Werenski. Shots, 15-11 for Columbus in the first, 14-11 in favor of Montreal in the second, 7-6 Montreal in the third, 3 shots in the overtime, all for Columbus. Final shots, 35-32 in favor of the Blue Jackets. Power plays, 0 for 3 for Columbus, 0 for 2 for Montreal, and they get that extra point tonight. So, some shootouts going on around the league. And we're not done seeing shootouts yet. Next game, Pittsburgh in against New York Rangers. Mentioned blown leads, right? Those were a theme. Murray kept the puck out after wiping out. It's a brilliant play if you haven't seen it. He kind of gets wiped out and still makes a save right after. Georgiev then stopped a really good chance by Malkin. Murray denied Panarin, and it was really scoreless at this point due to the goaltending by Murray. However, he can't keep them all out. The first goal of the game is scored by Capo Caco from Lemieux and D'Angelo at 6:42. D'Angelo is the best spent money in the NHL. His contract's fantastic. The Penguins then got a power play. Really good penalty kill for the Rangers. And with 11 seconds left in the first, it's Fox from Panarin and Hedl. So it is 2-0 for the Rangers after 1. Second period, early, minute and 13 seconds. Schultz scores from Pettersson and Malkin. And this looked like it might get a little closer. So a 1-goal game until the Penguins get a power play shortly after the halfway mark. McCann scored from Simon at 12 minutes and 33 seconds. That power play goal was a beauty. McCann does have a good shot, and if he ever finds that offensive consistency, he's going to be a good top 6 forward in the NHL. Third period, Lafferty hit the post with 6 minutes and 40 seconds left overall. Lafferty was really, really prominent in the parts of the game that I saw tonight, and I'm actually kind of surprised at how often he's been a healthy scratch and or sent down to the American League. But when all their forwards are healthy, I guess there's no room for Sam Lafferty. Murray then robbed Buchnevich. The Rangers got a power play with 4 minutes and 10 seconds to go, and Murray was really holding them in that third period in that 2-2 tie. And the penalty kill was really, really good, and it was a good road period for Pittsburgh as well. In the overtime, 2 minutes and 24 seconds, Kakko scores from Fox. So Kakko with a couple of goals tonight. There you go. He's going to win it. That's it. He is going to be the Calder win. No, I still think Makar. We'll talk about Makar soon. Murray saved 24 out of 27. I don't think the save percentage tells you how well he played tonight. Georgiev saves 30 out of 32. Yeah, he was that good. 3 stars are Kakko, Panarin, and McCann. Shots in this game, 11-8 in the first for the Rangers, 11-7 Pittsburgh in the second, 12-8 Pittsburgh in the third, and both teams got 1 shot in the overtime. The Rangers got the one that mattered. Final shots, 32-27 in favor of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Power plays, Pittsburgh goes 1 for 3. The Rangers went 0 for 2. So, pretty good game overall, and the result ends up going the Rangers' way. So for Pittsburgh, without Crosby, they get a point. So it's not the end of the world, and they did come back from 2 goals down. They're on some kind of a run with teams that have come back from 2 goals down. There's a lot of weird stats that are out there where they're on some kind, I think it's 5 in a row where they're 2 goals down, something strange, and they've come back, and it's the only time, I don't know. And then the Moon's in Mercury's, and anyway, doesn't matter. There's a lot of weird stats that get thrown out there when you're watching these regional broadcasts. All right, next up, Arizona. They go into St. Louis tonight, and they made history. And this is another one of those weird stats on Weird Stat Night, along with this and along with this. And it's a comeback as well. So no lead is safe in November. No lead November. That's what it should be called, is no lead November, because leads don't last. First period, the Blues got a power play about 12 minutes and 30 seconds in. Keep in mind, when this came on, I was watching all of this as well, so I'm watching what I can when I can. Power play did not get set up. Not a very impressive power play early for them. Schwartz from Shannon Pietrangelo at 17 minutes and 13 seconds. So late in the first, St. Louis gets the lead. The Coyotes push with 2 minutes left, and then Kemper with a fantastic stop on O'Reilly with 1 minute and 5 seconds left. Really, really good stop by him. Second period, Keller scores from Perron at 6:47. And not showing up on this, now for people saying from Perron, yes. Hinostroza beat out the icing. And as a result of that play, it kind of threw the Blues off. So Perron gets the puck, and he gave it straight to Keller. So it's not officially an assist for Perron because it ended up in his own net, but that's what ends up happening. It's one of those tough plays. You're expecting an icing and it doesn't happen. Parayko, however, would restore the lead from Sundqvist and Barbashev at 15:41. So it's 2-1 St. Louis after 2. St. Louis is excellent when they have a lead. Third period, the Coyotes had a power play near the 5-minute mark. It is the only power play that would score tonight. Garland from Keller and Dvorak at 5:58. The Blues tried to answer right away. They came down guns a-blazing in that third period, and Kemper, I thought, rebounded nicely from a couple of subpar starts in terms of his numbers. The Blues had a power play with 8 minutes and 41 seconds left. The Blues threatened with 1 minute and 30 seconds left as well, but despite the power plays and all the threats they had, Kemper turned them all aside. In the overtime, the Coyotes got a power play. They called a timeout, of course, to set it up. Didn't score on it, which meant we ended up with 4-on-4 play, not the 3-on-3 when that power play was over. And some good chances 4-on-4 both ways. Didn't solve anything, so we go to a shootout. In the shootout, Schmaltz and Garland got goals, and the Blues didn't. So in a shootout, the Arizona Coyotes win 3-2. They are the first team in NHL history to beat the 2 most recent Stanley Cup champions on consecutive nights. That is one of those stats that somebody somewhere combed through to find and kudos to them. And the funny thing was hearing the announcer say, well, I don't think this is something teams have a chance to do very often. So it's probably highly rare that this could happen, but it's good for them. And on back-to-backs, they get the win. So pretty strong effort from Arizona tonight, considering they played last night. Kemper saved 33 out of 35. Binnington saved 20 out of 22. Your 3 stars are Kemper, Keller, and Parayko. Shots 9-8 in favor of Arizona in the first, 16-6 in favor of St. Louis in the second, 7-5 St. Louis in the third, and in the overtime, 4-2 in favor of the Blues. Final shots 35-22 in favor of, you got it, St. Louis. So St. Louis had all the pressure in the world. Kemper really got them that first point and then got them the second as well by stopping the shootout opportunities. So there you go. That being said, I now need to change boards. So, Colorado. Yep. It looks like they're back. Either they're back or Winnipeg just ran out of gas tonight. And what's interesting is, this is a game that'll look like early, Winnipeg's going to run them out of the building. Because Scheifele had a chance and he collided with Francouz on the play. And Francouz went down hard. He was out of the game and Scheifele went to the penalty box. Now, I don't know how Scheifele avoids contact with the goaltender on that play because he was kind of brought in there by, I think it was Girard that pushed him in there. But at the same time, I understand why there's a penalty for incidental contact. And you could see while he was worried about Francouz and, making sure he got up and he was okay, he was still talking to the referee like, but how do I get a penalty out of this? You could kind of see like he was confused and bewildered by that. That being said, Kopp then took a penalty after they killed that one off, so that's back-to-backs for them. The Jets got a power play about halfway through the period. Byron Spriggs was then showed as geared up and ready to take the net if he needed to as the emergency goaltender. Apparently played for University of Manitoba for a few years and probably was sitting there going, please don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt. But in his favor, Werner looked really good to that point of the game. Werner was fantastic. And I also put on the board, remember not to mention Nichushkin. He threw a check at center ice, but I can't mention him. 1901, Makar breaks the scoreless tie from McKinnon and Cole, and Nichushkin was in on that play. So Makar gets the goal, and it's 1-0 for Colorado after one. And it kind of felt like a gut punch to Winnipeg, because they had a pretty decent period. And yet I didn't feel like as soon as Werner went in, they weren't getting a lot of really good shots on him. They were sort of letting him get comfortable. You don't do that. Second period, early in the second. The Avs were holding the lead with the number 3 goaltender. Again, I'm moving around from game to game to game. And in the second period of this game, it just looked like Winnipeg had the puck a lot, and Werner stopped the puck a lot. That was kind of his game. So we go to the third period now. And at 18 seconds of the third period, McKinnon with the dagger from Calvert and Donskoy. And yeah, that's really it in a nutshell. Hellebuck has stolen a couple of games for Winnipeg, and tonight it happened to Winnipeg where the goalie at the other end stole it. The difference is, who's Werner? Like, we had not anticipated he would see the ice at all. We figured that we'd see Francouz every game until Grubauer came back, but because of injury to Francouz, Werner goes in, and it turns out it's a pretty good option. Werner then denied Morrissey's point shot, and as the game went along, he looked better and better. He did not look like a replacement goaltender or a third stringer or anything. McKinnon then scored from Donskoy and Calvert at 7:13. The Jets got lots of pressure after that. Tons and tons and tons. Couldn't score. Couldn't get it. The frustration was getting pretty solid, and so they take a penalty, which leads to Donskoy scoring from Kadri and McKinnon at 13-13. 4-0. The Jets got a power play after that, but Werner was fantastic. He wasn't allowing anything. He saves all 40 shots that he faced. Now, because he didn't play the whole game, it was started by Francouz. It's what's called a shared shutout. So even though he doesn't allow a goal, it's not technically a full game shutout for him and won't show up as that in the records. Hellebuck, 21 saves on 25 shots. Francouz did not have to face a shot before he was knocked out of the game. 3 stars were Werner, McKinnon, and Makar. So all 3 of them, Colorado, no argument there at all. Hellebuck's 21 saves on 25 shots, whereas Werner saves all 40. Yeah, Werner had the kind of night Hellebuck had in San Jose last week. Shots 9-8 Winnipeg in the first, 12-8 Winnipeg in the second, 19-9 for Winnipeg in the third. Final shots 40-25 for the Winnipeg Jets. You wouldn't know it by looking at the scoreboard. Colorado goes 1 for 3 on the power play. Winnipeg goes 0 for 2. So again, Winnipeg, who doesn't take a lot of penalties, their penalty killing percentage is poor. And they mentioned that during the game, like, oh, they don't take penalties, so it's not a big deal. And I'm thinking, yeah, but their penalty kill rate is really low. So yes, special teams are still an issue, even if you're not taking a lot of penalties, if you don't kill the ones that you get. So it is still hurting them overall. But anyways, that being said, moving along. Vancouver. Vancouver scared me tonight. This was a game that, it frightened me because Nashville, they're really good at coming back. And Vancouver, spotty with the lead. And this game did scare me tonight. First period, Rene had a really nice stop on Virtanen. The Predators had a power play. It was a breakaway shorthanded for Schaller, which didn't really go very far, but he still had a shorthanded breakaway, so that was kind of nice to see. But both goaltenders looked pretty darn sharp early. The Predators controlled it with 3 minutes left, and their control of the game was pretty impressive late in that period. However, the Canucks got a power play at 19 minutes and 57 seconds. So to start the second, they had a minute and 57 seconds with the power play. They would score. Pearson from Gaudette and Edler at 1 minute and 25 seconds. And Adam Gaudette is now once again making the argument that when everybody's healthy, he needs to stay in the lineup. Berchi may have made that argument today as well. The Canucks were pushing for another. Levo was denied by Rene. Demko then denied Craig Smith. And then Smith shortly thereafter had another really good opportunity, and he missed high on it. So Smith's probably going to be seeing that one in his dreams tonight. Demko, though, it felt like at that point was really saving the Canucks bacon. They weren't playing particularly well with the lead. And then Järnkrok scores from Duchesne and Arvidsson at 13:35, and the Predators were really in control at that stage. And I felt bad for Demko because you can only save so many. The Canucks then were getting really pinned down, and the Predators were nearly doubling them in shots late in that second period, like for the entire game. And keep in mind, they had the same amount of shots between the two teams in the first period, so it shows just how dominant Nashville was in the second. The Canucks were kind of lucky to get out of the second in a tie game. Third period, the Canucks go to a power play at 4 minutes and 48 seconds, and guess what? Elias Pettersson, power play goal, makes the Canucks 2 for 2, and that's on his 21st birthday, so happy birthday. 6:09, and then they pushed for another. However, the puck goes the other way, and it ends up in the back of the net. Forsberg from Ekholm at 8:35, and then I put up here, Canucks can't hold a lead. Because they do have trouble holding a lead. Puck goes the other way, and it ends up in the back of the net. And this is where some triggers from last year kick in. The Canucks, however, went back to the power play. Rene stopped Hughes. So nice chance for Hughes. Rene stopped it. But Gaudette scores from Berchi and Pearson at 10 minutes and 59 seconds. That's a power play goal. They're 3 for 3. What they talked about as well on the power play was that the second unit, which is Pearson, Gaudette, and etc., they weren't overpassing and they were just taking the shot. So what I thought was, so they're keeping it simple. They're driving the puck to the net. They're taking their shots. That's interesting. And you're saying the first unit, which has Besser and Pettersson and Horvat on it, isn't doing that. Interesting, because, that's interesting. So they get the lead, and me being the eternal optimist, I'm like, how are they going to blow this one? However, before I can form a thought on how exactly they're going to blow it, and my thought was Forsberg again. Pettersson scored from Besser and Levo at 11:41. So yeah, there's a Pettersson, walk with Elias, Brock Besser, the Beast, and Josh Levo, which is thank you Toronto, all combining on a goal there. The Predators then got a power play, and they scored on it. Forsberg from Yossi and Johansson at 14:26, and all I could think was they can't have an easy game. When it was 4-2, I thought, all right, this is the kind of game that they need, the kind where they can just kind of relax a little bit. Nope, that's not what happened. The Canucks actually sat back late, and it almost cost them. Demko was pretty darn solid, and then Pearson hit the empty net at 19:53, and Canuck fans could finally breathe. Because up until that point, it looked like Nashville was definitely going to get a goal. And thanks to Demko and the defense in front of him, it didn't happen. So 5-3 is your final for Vancouver. Pearson gets 2. Pettersson gets 2. Gaudette gets the other one. Gaudette also got an assist. Your 3 stars are Pettersson, Gaudette, and Pearson. Not a surprise on any of them. Rene saved 21 out of 25. Demko saved 34 out of 37. The shots were 8 apiece in the first, 19-7 in favor of Nashville in the second, 11-10 Vancouver in the third. Final shot totals 37 for Nashville, 26 for the Canucks. Power plays 1 for 2 for Nashville, 3 for 3 for Vancouver. So the power play tonight, which has been much maligned at certain parts of the season, saved the Canucks bacon. All right, moving along. Detroit. This is 3 in a row, right? And the interesting thing is, early in the second, this wasn't happening. There was no way this was happening. Now, the first period, the Ducks had early puck control. They had the early edge in shots. I think it was like 6-2, something along that line, or 5-1. But they were controlling it. And it felt like this was low-scoring teams, low-scoring game. That's just how this is going to end up. Nope. There was a scrum with 2:09 left, and Getzlaf and Mantha, I don't know what happened there, but they don't like each other, and they kept arguing while they were in the penalty box, which is one of my favorite things. One spot I would love to be at some point in time when I go to a game is behind the penalty box, just so I can be in between and hear what these guys say to each other, because it's got to be priceless. But anyways, then there was a fight shortly thereafter. Giovanni Smith and Nick Delorier. It's Giovanni Smith's first fight in a regular season game. Apparently he had 4 in preseason games, just his first in a regular season game tonight. And so it's scoreless after 1, but these two teams, it didn't look like they liked each other. In the second, well, it's early. Silverberg from Henrique at 20 seconds. There was some thoughts about whether or not they would challenge that goal. They didn't. Mahura then scored from Henrique and Cachet at 49 seconds. And Blashill, who had disliked both goals, decided to challenge that one for goalie interference. And even though maybe you could try to argue it, it wasn't a strong argument. It failed. I think mostly because Bernier was outside the crease. But it fails, which means power play Anaheim. That didn't end up scoring. There was a near goal by the Ducks at around the 7-minute mark, which didn't go in. Hronek, however, would then score from Bowie and Bertuzzi at 11:33. That was only the third shot of the second period by Detroit. It was a period completely controlled by the Ducks to that stage. It would not stay a 1-goal game for long. Fowler would score from Getzlaf and Cachet at 13:48, and then Mantha missed an empty net shortly after that. Wide open net. Put it that way, wide open net. If I say empty, people are going to be like, wait, why did they pull the goalie? No, wide open net. Not long after, though, at 17:21, Athanasiou from Filppula and Green. If Athanasiou starts heating up, Detroit could be more dangerous than we think. So it's 3-2 after 2, and for the Red Wings, they have to feel like they're kind of fortunate with the way that period went, that they're within 1. Third period, the Wings got a power play around the 7-minute mark. Perlini had a chance that missed just wide. Filppula had a great chance that was saved by Miller. The Wings goaltender gets pulled with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. And then the Ducks just imploded. They take a penalty with 1 minute and 31 seconds left. So it's a 6-on-4. Then they take another penalty with 1 minute and 10 seconds left. It's a 6-on-3. I'm straining my brain watching this thinking, when was the last time I saw a 6-on-3? And is that fair? It's almost the same as the St. Louis-Vancouver overtime where you have 3-on-0. It feels like that, and it looks like that on the ice. 6-on-3, if you get a chance to go watch highlights, it's just insane to see 6 Red Wings jerseys and 3 Ducks. Larkin would score because you have to when you're 6-on-3 from Bertuzzi and Mantha at 19:23. And keep in mind, they were still on the power play after that, but they didn't pull the goalie again to go 6-on-4. They weren't crazy. It was a tie game. Goes to overtime. In the overtime, Miller came out to challenge to make sure that the puck didn't go to the Wings. He came out almost to the blue line. And he wasn't back in place for what happened after a turnover. Fabry gives it to Cholowski. He scores at 2:04. So Fabry gets another point. That's 4 points in 3 games since joining the Detroit Red Wings. He factors into their overtime winner, and he looks fantastic with the Wings. Honestly, this is the best he's looked in the National Hockey League to this stage. It's only 3 games. It's early, but he looks pretty good. Bernier saved 24 out of 27. Miller saved 32 out of 36. Your 3 stars are Cholowski, Fowler, and Holzer. So all defensemen. That's odd. I don't know that happens very often, if at all. Shots were 10-8 for Detroit in the first, 12-8 Anaheim in the second, 15-5 Detroit in the third. Guilty of sitting back, the Ducks were. In the overtime, 3-1 in favor of Detroit. Final shots 36-27 in favor of the road team, the one that everybody left for dead a couple weeks ago. And now the Ducks, this is bad. This is a case where their record just keeps getting worse, and teams like San Jose are getting better. So rough night for them. Detroit goes 1 for 4 on the power play, and Anaheim goes 0 for 2. But that one on the power play, yeah, when it's 6-on-3, you kind of have to score. You can't not score. All right, moving along. Minnesota in against LA, and this is going to be the quickest one of the bunch because this was the game that I really didn't need to pay as much attention to as I did the other 3. Kopitar scores from Walker and Iafallo at 1 minute and 10 seconds. And yeah, this wasn't a game that it ever felt like LA could lose. But it was notable, and I had to put it on the board. There were so many empty seats. Wow. Like, there's a reputation that Los Angeles has for supporting winners and not going out and supporting teams that aren't winning. It's been said about them with football, I believe with baseball as well, to some extent. I wouldn't imagine the Dodgers have a lot of empty seats. That being said, it was really bad today with LA. So, as I've promised to fans of other franchises I've talked about empty seats, when I see them, I write it down. And this wasn't a case of they were probably out getting snacks or they were probably getting a beer. If they were getting a beer, it was a keg because they never came in. And they drank the whole keg sitting out, which, considering the season the LA Kings are having, I'm not sure that I would necessarily blame them. The Wild got the first power play, but Quick was having a very good first period, and he had a very good game. And Jonathan Quick can still have these games. Can he put them together becomes the question. With 3:04 left, Minnesota got another power play. But the Kings' penalty kill, which has been miserable all year, was pretty good tonight. Or the Wild power play was awful. And again, depending on your point of view, you may say one or the other, or you might say, that's probably both. One was probably pretty good, and the other was probably pretty bad. And I can't argue with that. Second period, early power play for the Wild. Quick got a really good stop on Donato. Dubnyk then robbed Wagner. So still scoreless until, well, it's not scoreless. Scoreless second period. It's 1-0 LA. Until Carter scores from Amadio and Hutton at 10:56. So Ben Hutton's first game or first point in a while. That made it 2-0. Dumba would score at 15:40 to make it close. But again, I never got the feeling Minnesota could come back and win this one. Third period, the Kings got a power play with about 5:07 left, and I thought, well, this will end it. And then Amadio hit the post on an empty netter. And then Minnesota comes down the ice and Quick saved his bacon. But however, Carter would score from Kopitar at 19:13 into that empty net. So that's the end of that. 3-1 is your final for the Kings. So again, it just felt like Minnesota didn't have it. Dubnyk tried to drag him there, though. 32 saves and 34 shots. Quick saved 27 out of 28. He's your first star. Kopitar's second and Carter's third. Shots were 11-11 in the first, 11-8 in favor of the Kings in the second, 13-9 for the Kings in the third. Final shots 35-28 in favor of LA. Power plays, Minnesota goes 0 for 3, LA goes 0 for 2. And there you go. I now need to change boards one last time. You know, if you're going to finish the night on a game, you might as well finish it on a game that's bewildering. So it's got the board all to itself because this is the bewildering game. I have defended the Oilers' defense and goaltending all season. Tonight, both took a bit of a holiday. And for San Jose, while they've had some issues along the way, they can keep playing like this. They're going to make things interesting over the next month. Burns scored from Sorensen and Schimmick at 4:01. Kane then scored from Couturier and Dillon at 7:27. The shots were 5-1 San Jose at that point. And I had to say, Kane's a natural goal scorer. Snapshot, slap shot, garbage goal. He does everything. And as much as Evander Kane makes headlines, sometimes for the wrong reasons, obviously, right? he is just fantastic at scoring goals. If at some point in time in his career he can take all the controversial side out, and find some way to channel a lot of the anger that he has when he plays more towards the goal scoring side, he can score 50. He's got that kind of talent. Marleau then scored from Heath and Thornton at 11-12, and I had to do the math. The combined age of those three players is 108 years old. So Marleau from Heath and Thornton, that might be the oldest goal in the NHL this year. I don't know that that's a stat. I saw some crazy stats tonight. I figured I would put that stat together and see if anybody can find one that's older. An older goal in the NHL than Marleau from Heath and Thornton. 40, 40, and 28. The shots at that point were only 6-3 for San Jose, so they had scored on half their shots. And yet Smith, from there, kind of rebounded. And I put the Oilers might need a timeout. They didn't call one. The Sharks got a power play, and it was a dangerous-looking power play. Didn't score. The Oilers then got a power play, and just their defense was just kind of Swiss cheese tonight. So you look at the 3 goals on 6 shots. You can try to get mad at Smith over it, but in reality, this defense tonight looked like the Oilers' defense from last year. Second period, Barclay Goodrow scores from Meyer and Carlson at 1:26. The worst possible start for the period for the Oilers. They're down 4-0. The Oilers then got a power play. They didn't score on it. However, Draisaitl would score from Gagne and Bear at 9:57. So on the upside, Draisaitl had a good night. However, at 17:34, Hurdle would score from Erik Karlsson and Couture. Erik Karlsson put some points up tonight, and that makes it 5-1 San Jose after 2, at which point I'm like, I don't know what I'm watching. I don't know what's going on. Because, again, this felt like the Oilers last year. You can't be doing this, Edmonton, because if you start doing this, especially in divisional games, giving up points against division rivals, especially one that's down, you got to go in and stomp them. Third period, Cassian scored from Draisaitl and McDavid at 9:08, which brought all the moms for the Oilers in attendance up to their feet and clapping. But the applause wouldn't last more than 1 minute and 22 seconds as Meyer scored from Erik Karlsson and Goodrow. Yeah, 10:30, and that was the score. Then Gagne scored from Patrick Russell and Nygaard at 12:18. That made it 6-3, but that's your final. So Smith, 19 saves on 25 shots. Jones, 21 saves on 24 shots. Not a 900 save percentage. I will continue to track that because it's a thing. 3 stars, Erik Karlsson, Timo Meier, and Barclay Goodrow. So Karlsson and Meier, 2 guys that the Sharks need to get going and start scoring and start being more on the positive side of things. They both did tonight. Shots 9-8 in favor of the Oilers in the first. 8-6 in favor of San Jose in the second. 9 shots apiece in the third. Final shots 25-24 for San Jose. It just felt like when San Jose got shots, they were primo shots. So they'd go in, so they don't need rebounds to get their shot count up. This has to be just one of those ones the Oilers just crumple it up, throw it away, and move on to the next one. Power plays, the Oilers went 0 for 2, and San Jose went 0 for 3. On the upside, Draisaitl is the leading scorer in the National Hockey League right now, which is impressive. So there's that. But yeah, San Jose continues this comeback they've been on. It's had some hops and skips and jumps and sideways moves along the way, but tonight they look pretty good. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Channel very close to 127,000 right now. I think I'm allowed to tell you that. And thank you guys for all your support. Again, this channel exists for discussions of all things hockey. And thank you guys for being part of that discussion. I will talk to you again soon.